Something insanely controversial has been going down in the Call of Duty community, specifically with Black Ops 6's skill-based matchmaking system. Players have been diving into what you might call the shadier side of Call of Duty, and what they've found out is mind-blowing. By using a method called two-boxing, a trick that tons of content creators have been secretly using, players can exploit the skill-based matchmaking system set up in Black Ops 6, turning the game into a matchmaking hell. So what's this two-boxing thing all about? Basically, it's a sneaky way players are getting around Black Ops 6's skill-based matchmaking. The whole point? Getting themselves into easier lobbies with newbies and less experienced players. Here's the deal. Players set up two different accounts. They've got their main one that they actually play on, and then a second one, which is what people call a dummy account. This dummy account is purposely played terribly to trash its skill rating. It works like this. The player jumps into a lobby using their dummy account as the leader. They bring their main account along for the ride. Right before the match kicks off, they ditch the dummy account. Boom. Their main account is now playing against way less skilled players. So why are folks doing this? It's mostly content creators trying to get awesome footage for their videos. Think about it. If you're going for those fancy trick shots or trying to get a crazy high kill count for your YouTube channel, it's way easier against newer players. But here's where it gets messy. While two-boxing isn't technically cheating, lots of people think it's pretty sketchy. Why? It makes viewers think content creators are better than they really are. It's totally unfair to actual new players, and it kind of messes with the whole idea of honest content creation. The community's split on this one. Some people say it's just creators being smart about their content. Others think it's basically just smurfing. You know, that thing where good players pretend to be bad to stomp on newcomers. What's really interesting is how Activision's handling it. Or well, how they're not handling it at all. They haven't done anything official about two-boxing, even though more and more players are getting fed up with it. During the Black Ops 6 beta, some test accounts were made to see what the game was like without skill-based matchmaking tracking. The results? Pretty crazy. This whole investigation got bigger with some leftover Game Pass time, really digging into this controversial method that's changing how people compete. Just to be super clear, none of these lobbies we're talking about are actually legit gameplay, and that's exactly what makes this whole thing interesting. The difference in how these games played out was just nuts. These manipulated lobbies were like playing a completely different game. Players barely knew how to defend themselves, teammates were all over the place, and hilariously, people kept crying "hacker" in the chat, which is pretty funny considering what was actually going on. The craziest part? How stupidly easy it is to get around skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops 6. You just make a second account that plays terribly on purpose, use it to start searching for a game, bring your main account in, and then drop the dummy account. Sure, sometimes you hit snags like full lobbies or trying to join mid-game, but it's surprisingly easy to pull off. The difference between these fake lobbies and normal games is like night and day. Regular matches in Black Ops 6 feel like you're in some intense training camp, going up against CDL pros just to get basic stuff done. But these manipulated lobbies, it's like playing against bots set to easy mode. Weirdly enough, these easier lobbies aren't even that fun. Getting a nuke medal against players who were basically hand-picked to be worse than you feels kinda lame compared to the old days. People still talk about getting MOABs, Modern Warfare 3, or randomly getting nukes with weird loadouts in Black Ops 4. Those felt awesome because everyone had a fair shot, and the only thing that mattered was how good your internet was. These days, Call of Duty's turned into this weird system of skill brackets that totally kills the random fun that made the game great. The Black Ops 6 review showed how the matchmaking seems designed to keep most players at about a 1.0 KD ratio. Whenever you do really well, it feels fake instead of earned. Anyone with Game Pass and a spare gaming device can try this two-box thing, but the initial "wow, this is cool" feeling quickly turns into "this feels kind of wrong," and these wins don't mean anything. What's worse is how it affects new players. They're stuck in their own little skill bubble, never getting to experience the full range of gameplay that used to help people get better. Looking at the stats, it's pretty clear that players haven't been improving as much in the 5 years since skill-based matchmaking took over Call of Duty. Matches are super predictable within each skill bracket, making everything feel stale. When better players sneak into lower tier lobbies, the skill gap is so obvious that people start yelling "hacker" because they've never seen anyone play outside their carefully managed skill level. People messing with matchmaking has become weirdly normal. During recent official Call of Duty events, teams were openly using VPNs to mess with matchmaking during the Prestige Master Race. And get this, Call of Duty's social media people were actually praising it. This deep dive shows there are some serious problems with with how matchmaking works now. Skill-based matchmaking doesn't just affect individual matches. It messes with how players improve and how fair the game really is. Here's some other stuff we found. Skill-based matchmaking affects players differently depending on where you play. Different regions get various levels of matchmaking strictness, so the game feels totally different depending on where you are. Some places have super strict matchmaking, while others are more chill. The time of day matters too. The matchmaking system gets stricter or looser based on how many people are playing, so your experience can be totally different depending on when you hop on. This makes it even harder to tell how good someone really is. These inconsistencies are messing with both regular players and content creators. The current setup has completely changed how Call of Duty content gets made and watched. Lots of creators have to use these manipulation tricks to keep their content interesting, which means what you see in videos isn't what the game's really like. The strict SBMM has also made it way harder for friends to play together when they're at different skill levels. Even worse, how easy it is to mess with matchmaking raises some serious questions about competitive integrity, especially in ranked play and tournaments. It's getting harder to tell what's actual skill and what's just gaming the system. This could have some pretty serious long-term effects on competitive Call of Duty. As more players figure out how to work around the system, you have to wonder if any achievement in the game really means anything anymore. You've basically got two types of players now, those who play by the rules and those who don't. This affects everything from casual games to competitive rankings. Looking forward, the community's got some big questions about competitive Call of Duty's future. While going back to regular lobbies and focusing on stuff like camo challenges and prestige levels is still possible, the fundamental changes to matchmaking have changed how people think about performance and achievements. Looking into all this stuff shows a pretty harsh truth about modern Call of Duty. The matchmaking isn't just about putting players together anymore. It's turned into this complicated system for manipulating engagement. As players try to figure out what to make of all this, one thing's clear: competitive integrity in Call of Duty was compromised from the start. Nobody really knows where we go from here, but this investigation adds to the growing pile of evidence that the current matchmaking system needs some serious changes. The game's trying to balance fair play, fun, and competitive integrity, and we're all waiting to see what the developers do with all this feedback from the community.